how cute you all chose one section to sit in. Sorry, Glenn, I'm talking to everybody else. Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Hill, and I'm going to be sharing some information with you now. Well, first of all, you're in the AI zone. After this talk, or during this talk if you get bored, there are 3 computers set up with different AI tools available to play on. So we have Gemini, Google's AI tool, we have ChatGPT. If you haven't played around on those yet, they're very fun to play with, particularly if you put the same prompt in each and see what happens. We also have a HubSpot demo up, so you can see some of the marketing tools that are using AI in that environment. And then we have some other tools like alt text AI, which will provide text descriptions for every photograph in your website just by scraping it. Or Aphorai, which is a research tool. So just giving you a sense of some of the tools that you can play with that are using AI. But for this talk, what we're going to talk about is some of the things to think about in terms of how you use AI, what AI really is at this point, some of the cautions around AI. Because it's always good to be very excited about new technology. It's also good to be very informed about new technology. We want to make sure that's where everybody lands. So first of all, what everybody is calling AI right now is more like machine learning 4.0. It's not actually artificial intelligence yet, because it's not sentient. So the tools that we're using, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these tools that everybody's going crazy about, they're machine learning. What does that mean? It means these computers have become incredibly fast, like the hardware of computers have become so fast that now the software can do things that the hardware used to be too slow to accommodate. So we've got hardware advances that are allowing all of this rapid software activity. What machine learning is when a computer evaluates huge quantities of data, and then it looks for patterns in that data. It can pull words out of data very quickly. It can say, I just read 1 million documents on this topic, and these are the themes that I pulled out of them, and I can summarize them for you. And it can do it in the space of a couple of seconds. Or I just looked at all of the possible geometries of a design, and I can therefore extend the design using all of these geometries very, very quickly, faster than anyone can draw. Or I just looked at all of the possible pictures that you could apply to this particular description, and am pulling data to assemble the picture you asked for. But it's not sentience, it is not thinking, it is not feeling. It is rapidly, so rapidly it makes your head spin, going through millions of data points to present a result that you're asking for. Within the development community, everybody knows we're X years away from actual artificial intelligence. So I just like to start with that baseline so we know that sentient artificial intelligence is not what we're dealing with, no matter how crazy, interesting, or fun your conversations with ChatGPT and Gemini may be. So where does this data come from that these AI systems are using? Well, the answer is it depends, and it's not always clear. So when you set up an artificial intelligence program, you have to train it on data. And what data is used to train that artificial intelligence could be vast swaths of public data, as we believe ChatGPT was trained on. Now, they won't confirm what their training databases were. Most of them won't. Most of the big ones right now don't confirm what data they use to train on. But what happens is they sit literally thousands of people in rooms looking at computers, and they start training the software application on these massive databases. And then they say, for instance, okay, here are 500 pictures of dogs. Now, I'm going to get, so you show the database, or the AI system, the 500 pictures of dogs, and then after it's studied the dogs, you say, okay, here are 8 pictures of animals, can you pick out the dogs? And then the AI system picks out what it thinks are the dogs, and then the human sitting there with it says they got it right or they got it wrong. And that is how these databases are trained. So whether it's, then they drill it down further. Okay, now we're going to start learning how to identify schnauzers. So now we're going to look at all the pictures of schnauzers, and AI system, pick all of the schnauzers out of these 100 animal pictures. So that's how these databases have been trained, and they're continuing to be trained. There's usually a human interface participating in helping these systems get smarter and smarter, better at recognizing things. And when I say thousands, I mean thousands. Like ChatGPT, for a long time, was hiring massive centers, they look like call centers, in Kenya to train their databases, because they couldn't find enough people to sit here and do it. It's also really hard work. We're watching the human rights and social impact of people training these databases, because they were getting so overwhelmed at the massive amounts of nasty stuff coming out of the dark web. They actually had to have therapists on site. Yeah. So when we talk about training AI databases, this is not some sterile technology thing. This is people sitting next to computers helping them learn how to identify things with confirmations. Now, some environments will tell you exactly what the data is what data is used to train them. So, for instance, if you use a software system called Waybook, and it's for company documentation, Waybook will tell you exactly what they trained all their data on. It was process documentation across X industries. So that's what they pulled, was all SOPs and process documentation and instructions. And then you can further train it on your own company SOPs. So it trains itself on your company documentation, comparing it to external SOPs, and then suggests to you what your process documentation should include. So some systems are going to tell you exactly what data they're trained on, other systems will not. If you want to do a fun ChatGPT or Gemini prompt, ask, what databases were you trained on? And it will say, I'm not at liberty to divulge that information, or some variation thereof. Okay, so why does it matter what databases these AI tools were trained on? It's because they may have included text, images, artwork that are proprietary. And that's where we have to start thinking very carefully about how we use our AI tools. Now, I am a huge fan of AI. We use AI in several parts of our company. We teach our clients to use AI. I am enthusiastic about AI as it exists today. I have my reservations about sentient AI, but I also know it's not here yet. But for the tools that we have available today, I'm a fan. But we also think it's very important to put some guidelines in place so that people are using it thoughtfully. So for instance, if you are developing, say you're a graphic designer, and you want some graphics AI, so you put in a prompt, show me a picture of, I don't know, a zebra carrying a Louis Vuitton bag and meeting with a kangaroo in a park. Try that prompt. You'll get something. Okay, is the Louis Vuitton bag they popped into the picture a copyrighted image or not? Is the zebra or the kangaroo coming from somebody's copyrighted image or not? Is the park coming from somebody's copyrighted image or not? These are things it's very, very difficult to know. So as a result, we want to be thoughtful when we use these tools, when we use what we call final output. So in our company, we have some guidelines. We will never use AI image generators for anything that we produce for advertising and marketing or for our clients' advertising and marketing, because we can't be sure that it's original work, that it's not infringing on somebody else's copyright. However, if we're doing a demonstration internally, training for each other, or a little PowerPoint presentation that we're doing with each other, sure, somebody could use an AI tool to do that, but we're not publishing it. We're using it for internal use only. And that way we're not infringing on someone's copyright, because I could take that picture of a Louis Vuitton bag and put it in my internal training, and Louis Vuitton doesn't care. They just don't want me publishing it. Now, if any of you actually own marketing agencies or support agencies of any type, and your contracts with your customers say they own the work once you produce it, and you use AI to produce that work, you violated your contract, because you cannot own the output of AI. There is no IP available to someone when they produce an AI document or image or graphic. There's literally no owner. Yes? Yes, it does include Canva, because Canva, you can choose not to use AI tools in Canva, but if you're using the AI generator and you're producing content for a client, for instance, yeah, you can't, it depends. Now, if your client hasn't contracted you for original content, then you're not violating your contract. You don't own it, the client doesn't own it. Anybody could use that graphic. Same thing with written output. So everybody's so excited about the fact that you can go to an AI generator of a number of types and say, write me a 600-word article on such and such. And it will. And it'll get it about 85% to 90% right. However, you can't own that content. If you wrote it for a client, they can't own that content, because AI-generated content can't be copyrighted. Now, there's a lot of activity happening right now in the intellectual property, IP world, around how is this going to be monitored and governed, and nobody knows just yet. So what we advise people right now is never use AI-generated content, images, graphics, words, in final output, as your final output, because of the risks of using somebody else's copyrighted material in it. So if you're going to use tools for AI in your company, the first thing we recommend is that you have some guidelines around its usage, because there are 1,000 great ways to use AI right now without violating anybody else's IP. It's just when you're taking the shortcut and using it for final output, it's really fast, it's just not right. Yes?
You're just writing something, say, for one of our invitations, and I just want to see, how let's write one of my browsers. That changes it a little bit, but that's not, so that's okay.
That's fine. So, for instance, if you're saying, give me an example of, a 40-word invitation for a membership for this type of event. It's gray, okay? Is it possible somebody else wrote an invitation exactly like that some other time and it pulled some words? Okay, it's possible. Is it likely that that was copyrighted content? Not really, because that's administrative content. So we like to use AI. Now, I like to err really on the conservative side here. So, like for our teams, we say, ask AI to give me a suggestion of the 4 bullet points that should be in this article. I need to write a 200, even a 100-word email, and it's about this topic. Give me the 3 bullet points we should hit. No problem. Then you can quickly write to the bullet points. Or you write an email and you realize it's 250 words, and of course email these days, they recommend that it's 75 words or less, right? Like, I don't know if you remember this Mark Twain quote. He once said to somebody, I'm sorry I wrote you a long letter, but I didn't have time to write a short one. Writing with brevity, it takes a lot. Shauna, the editor of MJSA Journal, standing back there laughing. Because it's hard to write in a concise way. What you can do is write something, and it's 200 words, and then you say, okay, you paste the whole thing into ChatGPT or whatever tool you're using, and you say, please make this 100 words. And you can even ask it for 2 or 3 versions. Now you're not violating anyone's anything. It's taking your content and adjusting it. So in that particular case, that's a perfectly fine way to use it. But using it for the full output of an article, you get into some really gray area there, because not only somebody else, many somebody else's have written articles on that topic that were then pulled together. And one of the reasons that the companies that have these AI systems do not answer what their data was trained on is because they don't always know. They've put so much data into these databases that they can't always tell you what they were trained on. So we're advising companies to be very thoughtful and not use AI output as your final output. So how can you use AI? Well, you can put your own drawing into AI, and you'll be talking a lot more about that in the next today and tomorrow. You can put your own drawing into AI and then have it tell you different ways that you could adjust that drawing. So it's sketching faster than you can once you've come up with the original idea. Because you know, how many of you are designers in here? Okay, so you know how it is. You draw a design, and then you tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it. And at that point, you're like, oh, now I just want to do another design, right? So AI can be very useful for that, to help you adjust those geometries. What would it look like if I softened these curves? What would it look like if I, made this an east-west instead of a north-south? But it's working on your design. So, and you can't copyright a geometry. So you're not going to be interfering with anybody else's copyrighted material. But if you say to it, I'd like a design of a butterfly with 32 gems studded in it, there's a really good chance you're going to come up with somebody else's design. So start with your own design and have it adjusted. Yes?
Regarding that, giving the machine something original, the machine is running online with you. Will it remember?
Some of them will. So the question she's asking is, when I put my own original content into an AI system, will it then use my content for something else? And there is not a clear answer on this across the board. Some environments do store that information and learn from it. Some environments do not. Honestly, like when I'm writing articles, I will not put my original content in any of the AI generators. Once it's published, then I don't mind going in and saying, hey, give me 3 short takes of it for social media, for instance. Because it's already published. Now it's out there. Yeah.
There are programs that allow you to be offline on public so that you can't keep it to yourself and nobody else can touch it.
Okay, so what Greg is saying is that there are programs that will allow you to keep your data offline. Which ones?
Leonardo.
Okay, for design?
One of the only ones that can do that.
Okay. So for designers, Leonardo would be a good option there. I thought there was another question. So what we recommend people do with AI for content creation is use it for ideation. Get yourself, when you're staring at that blank page, whether you're a graphic designer or a writer or an artist, that blank page is intimidating, right? So it's a great way to say, jumpstart my thinking. Give me an outline about which 10 things should I talk about in? What kinds of points should I cover in this article? You get the blank page with some writing on it, and then you do the rest of the work. That's a totally effective way to use AI. And it's a smart way to use AI, because then the final work is in your voice, your brand. Because the output of AI is very generic. You can tell it, write in a professional voice, and then write in a casual voice, but that's not voice. That's just tone. So you always want your final output to be your original content anyway, to reflect what you are as a brand or as a company. So use it for ideation, don't use it for final output is our recommendation. Now, if you are implementing AI tools in your company, you want to make sure you've asked questions of the AI company that produced it. So that software you need to be thinking about. So asking questions like, what data did you train your databases on? If they can't answer, then you don't really know what you're dealing with. And some companies are doing a really good job now of saying, these are the data sets that we use to train, this is how we're training our data sets going forward, and this is what you can expect from our software. And some companies aren't. So for corporate use, we're recommending that people be very thoughtful. A lot of companies are implementing AI tools for HR work. That can be very concerning because the HR tools are doing things like filtering through resumes. Is there bias in the names? Is somebody going to see a name like Shakira and the system and say, well, that's a less desirable name than a Cindy? We don't know that yet. We know that AI is very, very bad at facial identification other than for white people. So using it for facial identification is a huge problem. And we're getting a lot of misidentification that really hurts people. So when the systems are being used, we need to know what data they were trained on and what thoughtfulness went into them to avoid bias from showing up in the final results. So if you're using them for corporate tools, make sure that you've done your due diligence as a company to understand what data that was trained on and what work was done to eliminate bias from the process. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you in this conversation. It's like, use AI. Experiment with it. Get yourself past those blank pages. Set yourself up so you're spending more time doing the creative thinking work and less time doing the administrative work. But don't use it for your final output. Yes? Prompting? I think we're talking about, are we talking about prompting in one of these sessions? I was not here. So, but we recorded it, so it'll be available. Any other questions on? Yes.
Are you familiar with the enterprise versions of ChatGPT?
Yes.
Pilot? How would they be more beneficial in terms of creating content for businesses? Because that's what they're aiming for, corporate users.
So far, what we've seen in the paid versions is that you have faster access. There were some version differences between the free access and the enterprise access for a while. It doesn't look like those version differences are holding. They're tired of supporting 3.5, so I think it's going to be a difference in how much access you have, the speed of access, as opposed to the full tool set. But it's still trained on entirely the same set of data.
But they're saying that they want to use your data for training purposes.
Right, and they are saying that, and yet they haven't demonstrated how they're going to do that yet. So until they demonstrate, and it's possible, so until they demonstrate how they're going to do that, proceed with caution. Any other questions? Was this helpful? Okay, good. All right, well, thank you. There's a schedule on those tables for the other little AI talks that we're doing today and tomorrow, and we're here. We're here to answer questions, play at the computers with you, show you the tools, so feel free to stick around and explore as well.